The following program is produced by students of the Brian Lamb School of Communication at Purdue University.
On this edition of Fast Track, we take you to the place where Purdue President Mitch Daniels calls home.
And we're going to take a look at just one of the many reasons why attending Purdue University can get you a great job after graduation. Fast Track starts now. Welcome to Fast Track. I'm Rachel Bibler.
And I'm Taylor Briscoe. If you have ever driven west of campus, you may have noticed a small cottage within the trees. It was built in 1932 and has since been home to the 5 most recent university presidents.
Fast Track reporter Trevor Peters takes us to that cottage and gives us an inside look as to what really goes on at the Westwood Presidential Estate.
Just west of Purdue's campus off McCormick Road sits a long drive lined with trees, gardens, and lawns with an old-fashioned house at the top of the hill. This exclusive 17-acre estate is deemed the front door of Purdue University, and Fast Track accepted the invitation to Westwood, the home of the Purdue president.
Good evening. Welcome, Westwood.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Although Purdue President Mitch Daniels wasn't home, House Manager Anthony Caudron was able to show us around and explain the background of this historical estate. Built in 1932, this 84-year-old house has served as the official front door of the university since its donation in 1971.
There would have been originally a 2-bedroom, 1 study, 1.5 bath, kitchen, dining room, sitting room, and that was a fairly small cottage built in the mid-30s.
Mid-30s,
yeah.
And that was
Mr.
Stewart.
Yes, sir. Yes. And
Wow.
so then when he retired from Purdue, he then decided to give the house.
Great.
And make it become the home of the presidents. Mm-hmm. And so the Hansons were the first presidents to actually live here.
Mm-hmm.
Besides being the home to the Purdue president, Westwood also serves as an event space for private social events for Purdue's most distinguished guests.
So this room was actually added in 1973, and at that point that was the only addition that they made for the Hansons to be able to entertain more people in the house. The fireplace that you see over here during the Hanson era was actually a fish tank.
Oh, wow.
And so this is where, after guests arrive, we serve drinks and appetizers here before people would move into dinner. And so some people, when they first see the house, think, why is the furniture all around the edge? But when you've got 75, 80 people, you don't need furniture in the way. So
yeah.
The nice thing about the furniture and the way that we have it set up is that we can move things pretty easily and adapt. So if Mitch has got a small group, we can create a small group. If he's got more of a stand-up event, that all works too.
Dining at Westwood can be an unforgettable experience, according to Caudron, as guests are entertained by student servers as well as chefs from the Hospitality and Tourism Management School. And when it comes to serving over 5,000 people a year, Caudron says Westwood has a certain expectation to uphold.
Westwood does luckily have the reputation of being the best restaurant you can't get a reservation for. So, the only way in through that door that you came through this evening is by invitation.
Upstairs is the family's quarters, which includes 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a study, and a storage room. Much of the first level is comprised of spaces designed for large-scale entertaining, including a large garden room capable of hosting many different events.
This room is known as the beering room now. We can seat up to 110 in here, which is tight, but it can be done. But again, we can, with the versatility of the space, we can have a dinner for 16 in here at a nice long table. We can set it up with round tables.
In his 16 years at Westwood, Caudron has seen 3 different presidents come in and out of the estate and says that each has helped add to Westwood's important legacy.
Each president marks the house a little bit with their stamp of their particular presidency. I think the notion of the house as front door to the university is always continued and always will, no matter who is here, because it is part of the package of being the president is you live here. We've obviously entertained over the 16 years I've been here, many, many thousands of people. We hope that they all went away with a good memory of Westwood and an even better memory of Purdue.
Invitations from the president to visit his home are rare, but after our visit, we were able to see that this is not just the first family's home, but the true home of Purdue. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Trevor Peters.
To see an extended version of this interview with Anthony Caudron, stick with us after this episode of Fast Track for another edition of our special interview series.
Let's take a quick look at the current weather conditions from Fast Track's meteorologist, Alita Donnelly.
Tonight we do see that Arctic air move in, and with that we will only see a low of 5 degrees, but partly cloudy skies. We do see northwest winds, but those winds will shift for Saturday, and we will see a high of 16 degrees and a low of 7, but with that we will start to see clouds move in, and we will see northwest winds with that as well. So just be aware of that if you are going out Saturday night, that it will be cold throughout the day on Saturday, but it will be a little bit warmer than it was Friday night since that Arctic air starts to push eastward and out of our area. But then for Sunday, you can see the high of 25 degrees with low of 19 degrees. We will see mostly cloudy skies still sticking around, and we will also see the snow move in through the overnight hours on Sunday night. So be aware of that if you are going out Sunday night, as our winds do shift to a south-southeast direction.
Thank you, Alita. We attend Purdue University for a number of reasons, one of the main ones being the hope for a great career. Our university provides us with tools like large career fairs to help promise a successful post-grad life.
Career fairs allow students to explore job opportunities and set up interviews, all while being on the comfort of their own campus. Taylor Briscoe gives us an inside look at the SMEF Career Fair.
The School of Management Employers Forum, or better known as SMEF, is an extension of Purdue's Krannert School of Management. The students that belong to this organization work hard every year to bring reputable companies right here to campus for career fairs. Senior Jack Vanier says the SMEF career fairs are a very special opportunity.
Being involved here at Purdue, I think it's just kind of a huge asset that you have to take advantage of, and almost a waste if you don't. I think the opportunities are there for students, and it's just our time to sort of take advantage of it. It's kind of too good to pass up, essentially.
Alondra Warm, a representative from the company Phorecia and also a Krannert graduate, says that companies really try their best to get to know the students they are talking to.
I try to tailor it to each person's passions and what they're really looking for. So, for example, we have a couple of different positions that our company offers, internships for kids that are still in school, and then for some graduate level positions as well. So just depending on what they're looking for and what their background is the big priority.
However, if your time at the career fair does not result in a job right away, SMEF Vice President Paige Weber says you can still have a big takeaway from their events.
It's a wonderful way to network and not only to find an internship or job, but also once you get into a field, to also have that network and to be able to have someone to go to and talk to about career, either through LinkedIn or through phone calls for future reference down the road as well once you start full-time after graduation.
Students, companies, and SMEF representatives alike agreed that the earlier you start going to career fairs, the better. So print your resume, perfect your elevator pitch, and hit the next career fair. Reporting for Fast Track, Taylor Briscoe. When we come back, we are going to take a look at how your iPhone may be causing you to fall behind in class.
And later, we have a story that could make parking on campus just a little bit harder. Stay with us.
Direct from Broadway, The Illusionist, Witness the Impossible, showcases the jaw-dropping talents of 7 of the most incredible illusionists on Earth. Audiences will witness stunning acts of grand illusion, levitation, mind reading, disappearance, and more. This non-stop show is packed with thrilling and sophisticated magic of unprecedented proportions. April 27th at Elliott Hall of Music. Details at convocations.org. Presented by Purdue Convocations.
starts with the belief that we can do more. Go beyond our borders, the world, and reach even the moon. We believe that delivering a world-class education and delivering value mean the exact same thing. It's pure gold. After all, where'd you think our colors came from?
Welcome back. Distractions are everywhere, but now even more are having an effect on students in the classroom. Studies have shown a correlation between grades and texting in class.
Hearing the results might make you think twice about reaching for your iPhone during class lecture. Fast Track reporter Julie Villanova has the story that can help you save your grade.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
If you are texting in class, don't worry, you're not alone. A new higher education study found that more than 90% of college students admit to using their devices for non-class activities. Less than 8% say they never do so. Texting in class can be a source of constant frustration to professors, especially Brian Lamb, School of Communication, emerging technology professor.
They can be distracting to what faculty members and students should be trying to focus on, which is the material and content and the discussion.
Teachers like Professor Seifer are taken back by how technology has advanced and completely changed the classroom atmosphere.
It's really one of the best times to have this kind of interest, because obviously things are changing so rapidly and people are very excited about the good sides and the bad sides, the surprises and the predicted effects. So I would say that I've been surprised by the extent to which these devices are distracting. I guess I shouldn't have been.
I think it probably distracts me from what the teacher's saying.
Because I'm not always focused on what the teacher is teaching.
The new revolution of technology in the classroom has altered the way professors and students interact. So next time you reach for your phone in class, think twice. Reporting for Fast Track, Julie Villanova.
This past week, we had to deal with another snow shower on campus. Needless to say, students were not happy.
Let's throw it back over to Alita Donnelly for a more extended weather forecast for our area. Alita?
Today we saw highs in the upper 20s throughout the state of Indiana, but then further west in Illinois, they saw a little bit warmer temperatures. However, we won't be seeing that today, as we do see another blast of Arctic air move in throughout the overnight hours tonight. And with that, we will see cooler temperatures tonight and into tomorrow. But for current conditions, we are currently at 25 here in Lafayette, 22 over in Kokomo, and 26 down in Indianapolis. And they are a little bit warmer further west in Illinois, but it's not too uncommon for this time of year. However, we are below normal for this time of year with our high and our low, but it could be much worse, as we did see a low of -10 back in 2014, but it could also be much better on the flip side of that with a high of 63 back in 1984. So we won't actually hit normal temperatures until the end of next week, but with that we will start to see the chance of precip move in when we start to hit the more normal and above normal temperatures for this time of year. Moving to satellite now, you can see that we are under a lot of cloud cover throughout our area, though there isn't any precip hitting the ground by us, as we are seeing just a chance of a light flurry in our area. More lake effect stuff further north, and with that they will see that throughout the day on Saturday. But for later in the evening on early Saturday morning, you do see that our area clears out as that starts to move eastward, and we will see it fully clear out by the end of the day on Saturday. More lake effects sticking around for northern Indiana and into parts of the eastern half of the state, but it isn't going to hit us, which is always a good thing. So be aware of that on Saturday. If you are going out, it will be clear here, but we will be under mostly cloudy skies as the lake effect does start to move eastward. We are seeing snow show up over in Nebraska and Kansas, and that will become more intense as it starts to move eastward and into our area, but it won't hit us until the evening hours on Sunday. So by Saturday night, you can see it start to fill in throughout Nebraska and into Missouri and Iowa. And then by 1 a.m. on Sunday, you will see Missouri is totally covered, and that will push into our area through the day on Sunday and into the overnight hours. And we can expect to see about 1 to 3 inches with that, so be aware of that on Monday for your Monday commute. The lows tonight, 5 degrees in Lafayette, 7 over in Kokomo, and 8 down in Indy. And we will see cold temperatures tonight and into tomorrow, as our high tomorrow is only about 16 degrees. We will see mostly sunny skies, but remember that Arctic blast of air that moved on Friday night into Saturday definitely affecting us on Saturday with those northwest winds about 10 miles an hour. Then for Saturday night, we see the winds start to shift a little bit, and we will see a low of 7 degrees, and some cloud cover start to build in for Saturday night with the low of 7. But then for Sunday, you can see that our high will be 25 degrees, the low will be 19. We will start to see the snow move in through the overnight hours, and with that we are seeing increasing cloud covers ahead of that, but our winds do shift, and with that we will have some more precip moving in through our area throughout the day. But then for the 7-day, you can see that we do see the chance of rain on Monday, and with that it will clear out by Tuesday. More rain starts to move in by Wednesday, and we will see that clear out quickly, and we become above average temperatures for the second half of the weekend into next weekend. So be aware of that if you are getting ready for next weekend plans.
Thanks, Alita. Purdue officials have recently declared the Marsteller Garage as condemned. For many students and faculty in the theater department, this creates a concern for parking on campus.
It is official that the garage will be demolished in May. However, it's uncertain whether it will be replaced with a new garage. Reporter Rachel Bibler sat down with a few members of the Purdue community to learn more about this campus problem.
Purdue officials recently declared the Marsteller Garage as a condemned building on campus. It hasn't been officially closed yet, but it is creating concerns for students and faculty to find parking on campus.
I had no idea that the Marsteller Garage was going to be closed. I think it caught us all by surprise. It particularly caught the graduate students by surprise last spring when we were trying to reserve parking in the garage, and without explanation, it just wasn't available to us. When I asked about it, they just said it will not be available to graduate students. No inclination that any destruction was going to happen.
Since this building is located right beside POW, students that have classes in this building rely on this space to provide parking, so this decision will affect where they park.
It's already really frustrating around here because POW is, it's our home, it's where most of the students stay, practice lines. We're here all the time. We always call it our second home and stuff, and we're in rehearsals, we're doing stuff all the time, but it makes it really challenging when we don't have anywhere to park. It's kind of an obstacle.
While many students and faculty are concerned about finding parking when the Marsteller Garage is torn down, there is another side to the story that might explain the breakdown of this decision.
Yeah, so the Marsteller Garage is a garage on campus. It has a little over 500 parking spaces. That garage is now 40 years old, and we have done a series of repairs over the years to it. But we're at a point now where, being 40 years old, there are major structural issues with the garage, and we worked with some structural engineers both here on campus at Purdue, and also got some outside assistance from some firms, architectural engineering firms, who gave us advice that this was probably a structure that needed to come down for safety reasons.
Despite the efforts to find other parking locations on the night of these events, there is still concern over whether this will affect the ticket sales.
We have so many patrons who are so generous with their time and their money, but many of them are also elderly. So when inclement weather and snow occur, if they are going to have to brush their car off or something, they may choose not to come to the show. So I am concerned that it's going to hurt ticket sales.
We've had a few conversations and talked with stakeholders who had some concerns about special events. We're working with them, particularly for special events at POW, to make sure that we have ample parking for the patrons and the customers that come in for shows and for exhibits at POW.
I'm really disappointed in Purdue for the fact that they're choosing to condemn this parking structure instead of rebuild it. I understand it is unsafe to use it after this year. I get that structurally, but it's sad that they're not willing to put in the money to help support the arts and the parking for the people who come to support the arts.
Well, that's expensive. You're talking several $1 million to rebuild that garage, but also we do have excess parking spaces on campus, and with a brand new garage again at Harrison, and then other options like Wood Street and some other surface lots in and around the area, we didn't need to put it there. But the cost is one of the main reasons why. It's an expensive proposition to build a brand new parking garage.
Purdue officials have declared the Marsteller parking garage will be torn down this May, making time for them to build a lot that will house nearly 130 parking spots. If you're interested in finding out more about Purdue's parking facilities on campus and where you should park on the night of events at POW, you can visit the Purdue Visitor site online for more information. Reporting for Fast Track, Rachel Biller.
We are almost halfway through February, making us halfway through Black History Month. With Purdue being such a diverse campus, there have been so many activities and events held in celebration for this nationwide celebrated month.
The Black Cultural Center held a screening event for all students, faculty, and the public last week for a movie directed by actor Tommy Ford, Switching Lanes. Liz Van Ostenburg spent time with some of the people that made this event happen.
The Purdue resident halls are known for hosting countless events for their students. One of the most recent events was held at Hillenbrand Hall, a screening of Switching Lanes, directed by Tommy Ford. On February 3rd, Purdue's Black Cultural Center hosted a screening of the movie Switching Lanes. In the spirit of Black History Month, this movie provided an insight into a modern-day segregated town and how two high school girls created unity amongst everyone.
Well, the movie explored some very difficult subjects of race and racism. And we as a campus community, I don't feel that we feel comfortable talking about issues of race. So this was our way of introducing a difficult topic in a very non-confrontational way.
Tommy Ford was invited to Purdue to share his movie with the public. Not only was he brought to entertain students about his movie, but he said that he was brought to share for great minds to dissect and dialogue the movie.
I believe the true definition of entertainment is a project that when you walk away from it, you're still entertaining a thought, a concept, a philosophy, something to talk about, something that's going to affect and infect you. And that's what's exciting about being invited here. There's not just a entertainment piece to say, okay, we're done, so what are we going to eat tonight? Now it spawns meaningful dialogue. It gets people talking.
For some students, the Switching Lanes screening was a great representation of Black History Month.
I'm honestly surprised because I come from a school where we don't really do a lot for Black History Month. So coming to Purdue and seeing that we're actually featured somehow, it's really exciting for me.
The Black Cultural Center puts on events all year round, like the screening of Switching Lanes. They are currently in their Spring 2016 Cultural Art Series, which includes keynote speakers, music, and art exhibits like the Funky Turns 40 Black Character Revolution. This includes historical information and cartoons from the late 1960s and 1970s that features positive Black characters for the first time in television history.
Black History Month provides a unique opportunity to really elevate and highlight the important contributions of African Americans. Sometimes it can become routine for people, or they may ignore how that African Americans are part of the American story. And February provides an opportunity for us to really focus in and tune in on those contributions.
The Black Cultural Center has so many events throughout the duration of the year that are open to all Purdue students and faculty, and even the public. Reporting for Fast Track, I'm Liz Van Ostenburg.
Before we go, let's take one last look at weather to see what we can expect this weekend. Alita?
In the upper 20s with 26 in Kokomo, 27 here in Lafayette, and 27 down in Indianapolis. But for the current conditions, we are a little bit cooler than average with a current temperature of 25. It only feels like 15 outside, so if you're going outside, make sure you're bundled up. The high today, 27, and the low tonight will only be 5, so just be aware of that if you're going out this evening. We'll start off at 6 o'clock at 25, drop down to 22 by 8, then drop considerably by midnight down to 13 degrees.
That's all we have for this week's edition of Fast Track. I'm Rachel Bibler.
And I'm Taylor Briscoe. See you next week.
Few composers today have shaped the landscape of music, opera, film, dance, and stage as formidably as Philip Glass. Now, Glass and 4 lauded pianists will illuminate the 30-year evolution of Glass's compositional voice in a landmark performance of the Complete Piano Etudes as a signature component of the piano dedication events this season. February 20th at Loeb Playhouse. Details at convocations.org. Presented by Purdue Convocations.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Ethiopian-born and Brooklyn-raised singer Maklit has been hailed by the San Francisco Chronicle as an artistic giant in the early stages. Describing herself as an in-betweener that lives along musical hyphen lines, she blends folk and jazz with global roots, transforming musical genres and styles with articulate skill. February 27th at Lafayette Theater. Details at convocations.org. Presented by Purdue Convocations.
Welcome to this edition of Fast Track's special interview series. I'm Rachel Bibler.
And I'm Taylor Briscoe. This week, Fast Track reporter Trevor Peters visited Westwood Estate, the home of President Mitch Daniels and other former presidents of Purdue.
The home, also known as the front door to the university, holds its exclusivity by invitation only. House manager Anthony Caudron opened its doors for this edition of Fast Track's special interview series.
So, thank you for sitting down with us first off.
You are welcome.
And so you came to the university with President Jischke in 2000. So I guess how has this estate and the university changed over 16 years and with the 3 different presidents?
I mean, Westwood has not really changed much. I mean, each president marks the house a little bit with their stamp of their particular presidency. I think the notion of the house as front door to the university has always continued and always will, no matter who is here, because it is part of the package of being the president is you live here. And some universities don't have that luxury. Some universities have a much smaller property that doesn't have the wonderful flexibility that we have here at Westwood to entertain a wide variety of people. So I think it's, each president has had their own style of entertaining, and it also sometimes factors in as to where we are in a fundraising campaign. If you're in a quiet phase, there isn't necessarily quite as much potential use. Not that you don't use the house on those years, but with the development, there's potentially a thanking opportunity. There's also a potential asking opportunity, and so those things have changed throughout the years. The house itself, in terms of decoration, has gone through a few changes, but again, intrinsically, it's the same space, just used and identifies a little bit with each of the presidents who've lived here, and how they've utilized the different rooms and things is probably about the main change. But obviously the university has grown a lot. I mean, Dr. Jischke came in with the intention of adding to the university and putting it back into the sort of the global picture, and so during his presidency with 42 building projects, the landscape of the university that we look out upon has changed, but the house really hasn't a lot. And obviously student numbers have increased, our quality of our programs have increased, and so all of those things have kept going up and making Purdue's mark on the world even more dramatic than it has been over the years.
Great. So being the front door of the university, what should a typical guest experience at a night at Westwood if they receive an invitation?
I mean, we don't entertain just in the evenings. I mean, we do lunches, we have breakfasts, which you know, again, each president has changed the sort of the dynamic of that. But Westwood does luckily have the reputation of being the best restaurant you can't get a reservation for. So, you know, the only way in through that door that you came through this evening is by invitation. So we have faculty, we have students, we have local community members, we have donors from our Pinnacle and foundation levels. So a wide variety of backgrounds. I think what we have always strived to do is give people a very pleasant experience, no matter how long they're here in the house for. You know, we extend as much Hoosier hospitality as we can. We try and utilize local products whenever possible. We are showcasing our students' abilities, both Chef Lule and myself, as I mentioned earlier, during our tour. Have students who are Purdue students in hospitality, and so that gives people an opportunity to interact with our current student body, which is great. As I say, I like to think that, you know, we give people a unique experience. We've obviously entertained over the 16 years I've been here, you know, many thousands of people. We hope that they all, you know, went away with a good memory of Westwood and an even better memory of Purdue.
Great. So how did Westwood's interior change from the turn of with President Daniels came here? What are his specific tastes, I guess, as far as decoration or just living, I guess?
I mean, I think with his background, he, you know, wasn't coming in to make any drastic changes. He's very comfortable, you know, sort of lower maintenance, and not having any sort of, you know, we must do this, we must change that. So I think really able to sort of fit in with what was already here, you know, and then just we've, you know, obviously both he and I and the house have been on a sort of a learning curve as he came in, from not having lived in the governor's residence in Indianapolis. You know, this was his real first experience of sort of living in a house that wasn't his, and so that, you know, I think takes a little bit of getting used to the fact that, you know, people that you've never met are sort of, you know, coming to your house, and he's made a big statement about, you know, this is not his home, but it is the university's home, and so has continued to use it that way. He's still a big supporter of our student art program, so in various rooms we have student art displayed. Some of the art in the public part of the house is his, from his own collection, and then, you know, we've adapted some of the art. He prefers sort of landscapes and pictures that you can tell which way up they are. So he's not necessarily one for sort of the modernist school of art, whereas Dr. Cordova and Chris had, you know, a more eclectic taste in terms of what they like to see on the walls. And so, you know, we had a little bit of a change into doing that. We've tried over the years to sort of maintain a relatively neutral palette in terms of colors, so that people don't come in and say, "Ooh, that's got to change," or "That's got to change." And so, you know, we've tried to make, you know, useful choices so that things can easily transition from president to president. The furnishings on this main level belong to the university. The various presidents, as they come in, generally bring their own things to furnish the upper level. I mean, there are the basics, but anything additional is usually brought in, you know, by the presidents. Whereas this level, for the public, is pretty much the same from one to another. And then, you know, we move things around, but we've tried to sort of make things that would be ongoing and lasting for each term, as you say, depending on how long those are.
Yeah. So over 16 years, obviously you've had trustees and development guests come in and out of these, in and out of your door. Who's the biggest name to come in and out of Westwood in the past 16 years?
Biggest name
that you've had the privilege of catering to?
I would say that former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright has been here twice, once for the Cranit Leadership Lecture Series, and then once for one of the President's Leadership a President's Lecture Series. And so she has been here. Colin Powell was here, Secretary of the Navy has been here, Brian Lamb from C-SPAN, our major donors, people of the years. I mean, and as you say, the trustees are regular visitors, past presidents. When the sad time when Mrs. Beering passed away, we had a lunch here for family and close friends after the interment of her ashes on Slater Hill. So that brought back a lot of people who'd been here over the years, and it was funerals and weddings tend to be, gatherings of people who don't see each other that often. Right. And so even though it was a sad occasion, it gave us an opportunity to entertain people who've, probably because they've either retired or they've come off a board or they're not necessarily local anymore, brought them back, and it was nice to see some old familiar faces. Right. People say, "Oh, you're still here." Whereas we've had 3.5 presidents in my time, there's just been, the one me. So it was a nice continuity from that perspective to bring people in. But obviously, everyone who walks through the door should feel, special. Right. So as I say, big names. I would say that those are probably some of the big. Neil Armstrong, of course, and many of the other astronauts. Yeah. Particularly when we did the dedication of the Armstrong building, I think we had a reunion of the astronauts at that time. Wow. And so we had some, famous names at that point.
So as you showed us earlier, there's a lot of cool different things about the house over in the kitchen, the different the refrigerator, the freezers, and all the cool stuff. What are your favorite aspects of the house, or little interesting things that make Westwood unique from different states?
I think, again, our position on campus is somewhat unusual in that most university presidents' homes are on campus. We are, by virtue of the fact that the house was not originally built with that intent, that R.B. Stewart built it as his own home, so it wasn't on city water, it was on a septic system, so it was isolated at that time. So I really like the fact that we are still somewhat separate. It's nice to be within the trees and see the seasons change, because the large garden room, or the Beering room as it's now referred to, and has been renamed. Right now, in the daytime, it's a very stark winter landscape outside, and then that evolving greenness that comes in the next few months, and then suddenly, with the summer, you have just a wall of leafy trees out there, and you can't see 30 feet beyond the windows. And then as soon as winter comes, of course, you can see all the way into McCormick Woods and see the walkers and runners and dogs and all the wildlife. So it's nice being out here a little bit on the sort of the periphery of campus, though it seems every day that campus grows a little closer to us with the new aero park and the new childcare. We're thinking, will we still maintain that? But I think we've got a 17-acre barrier that we shouldn't probably encroach upon.
Yeah.
So it's been wonderful, and also the flower gardens outside, and obviously not in this season, but in the spring and summer. That was an initiative forwarded particularly by Patty Jischke in terms of having the ability to cut flowers from our own gardens and arrange them and show them in the house. So it's wonderful to be able to go outside, and we have an herb garden out at the back, and so we can get things for the cooking and for the decoration of plates, and then we can also pick flowers and greenery and things in the gardens, which brings the outside in and vice versa. We have wonderful landscaping staff through Purdue's building and grounds, and so we're able to maintain a very pretty location, combining some of the sort of the natural woodland style, as well as having the more formal gardens outside. So it's nice to have that.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're here when the president's here all the time. So are there any habits that he has? Does he do his own dishes? Does he, do his laundry?
He does his own laundry. He does his own dishes. So again, as each president comes in with different family backgrounds, it's it's up to them how they use the house for their sort of private use. When it's a public home, we have staff here. Otherwise, the it's a housekeeper, Tammy, and myself, just maintaining the general building. But then when we have events, things sort of step up, and then obviously, the dishes are done for you, and the food is prepared for you. But otherwise, the presidents have always, for their own part, have always looked after themselves, so they've done their own cooking or gone out to dinner or whatever they want to do. But actually, in a president's life, there are very few days that you actually have to yourself. You're either being entertained on campus, or in Mitch's case, you're going to a fraternity, or you're going to a cooperative, or you're eating with students in the dining courts, or there's an event here. And so there aren't really very many nights in a month that you find yourself sitting there thinking, what shall I make for dinner? So, and that's always been the case. I mean, the presidents, all the presidents' schedules have been, very tightly controlled, but also very fully filled. So there aren't that many sort of gaps of luxury when you don't have anything to do in any room. So,
are there any house superstitions or weird things that happen around here?
Not really, and having worked in a couple of stately homes in England that were built in the sort of the 1500s and the 1700s, those came with ghosts and different things. But this house has never ever given me any kind of feeling that there's something, and I've been here when the power's gone out, and so it's deadly quiet and there's no noise, and it's not a house that if the lights aren't working, that you think, what are we doing? We have a lot of wildlife outside, so once in a while, we'll have a deer. The picture over here of the stag, that was actually taken through the window with no zoom. That was where he was standing right outside the window. And then we do have 3 cats that wander around and sometimes greet guests, and they keep our mouse population hopefully minimized. So that's been good, but not really any quirks to the house. Again, having been here 16 years, it rarely throws me a surprise. So, and working with a house that's been added to, the infrastructure is different because you didn't start from scratch, so nothing is necessarily in a logical place. So again, having sort of worked with the place for 16 years, yes, that's going to be the circuit box in that room, not that room or that room. And so there's been, there've been occasions when, I had to jump on a step ladder and clear out some gutters because there's water pouring in, or the basement used to flood when we had particularly strong rain, so you'd rush out here and mop that up. So it's again, it's like any other home. You have things that go wrong, and smoke alarms are never going to go off during the daytime, but as soon as you can try and go to sleep, that's when they'll play up and things will happen that way. But no, I don't think there are any really strange things about the house. We have lightning conductors on the roof. We added those in the early 2000s, so there are 17 lightning conductors on the roofs, because we are actually one of the highest points on the campus with the trees and things like that. So we can't have a satellite dish here because satellites need to point southwest, and we have too many trees at the back. So BoilerTV, like everyone else. So that's I think it's not too weird of a place.
So I guess one final question, since being here 16 years, what's the most beneficial thing that you've gotten out of living here and your job as the house manager?
I think just having been able to meet and work with so many different people on the campus, extend Westwood's image and reputation to as many people as we can. Having an opportunity to work with our wonderful students from HTM, who are a very dedicated group, who are very technically, that's not going to work well, who are very well skilled in hospitality, and their ability to look after our guests and make every event special. And just, it's a Westwood is an institution to Purdue, and so I've been very happy to be, at the helm of that and helping all the presidents make the most of it for as many people as we can over the 16 years.
That's all we have for this edition of Fast Track Special Interview Series. I'm Rachel Bibler.
And I'm Taylor Briscoe. Join us again next week for another interview with notable people of Purdue and the community.